voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence is small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. Once upon a time, there was a shining city on a hill. Everyone in the world wanted to move there because it was a beacon of freedom for the whole world. Not so anymore. In just over a month, that shining city on a hill has lost its shine, its appeal. And while the leader of that shining city on a hill thinks or tells us that he's now respected around the world, the opposite is true. Feared maybe, but not respected. Tonight, we're looking at tariffs that will be imposed on Canada and Mexico at midnight. I told you, the border issue, the fentanyl, just a red herring. Didn't matter what promises were made. It didn't matter that the Ontario government took action and made a drug bust at the border. None of that mattered. Because Donald Trump has other motivations. They're on full display, and yet nobody can see where it's going because we're all too close to the trees and we've been too complacent. We've taken our freedom for granted again. Even after the pandemic and everything that was done to us, we didn't learn the lesson. And we continue to make mistakes as a society. And so many are putting their faith in a false prophet and a man who was maybe the last hope for some people, who is now proving to be the weakest president in history. We'll dig into it tonight. We've got a lot of ground to cover. Stay with me.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
I'm sorry that some people don't like what I'm saying these days. But I'm not sorry. Because I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat things. And I'm not just going to tell you what I think you want to hear, or even what I know you want to hear. And it's unfortunate that things have evolved in a way that, you know, the truth is blowing up people's perceptions, their world. And I can't help it because I didn't create the situation. I didn't create Donald Trump. And I know that people are heavily invested in him, many, and a lot of people want to believe in him. But things are the way they are. And he's the one who arbitrarily, unilaterally is deciding tonight to move ahead with damaging tariffs, damaging not only to Canada and Mexico, but to the United States. Taking an unprecedented move of coercion against two of his longest standing allies, Canada and the United and Mexico. Friendly states. Bizarre. And yet things begin to make sense when you look at it through a particular lens, from a particular point of view. We'll illustrate tonight. Media, mainstream media, independent media, very few people cluing in. I told people over 2 years ago that this was coming. I knew Canada was in play. This is all directed toward the annexation of Canada, making it the 51st state, or a portion of Canada, the 51st state. It's all connected back to Ukraine. It's all connected to Russia. It's all connected. It's all part of a grand plan, a scheme, if you will. And when you really drill down and figure this thing out, I don't think it's very complicated at all. Executing the plan is somewhat complicated, and there are a lot of layers to it, but at the end of the day, when you really just get down to the nitty-gritty, it's not that complicated. But tonight, people are worried. Some people are scared, but I'm telling you, this guy, he's weak. And that's why the world is in a state of chaos right now, because the United States has the weakest president in the Oval Office ever. Ever. This is a guy who says he's a better president than George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, then laughs about it, but he thinks it's true. But it isn't true. He's the weakest president ever. And that's why the world has been turned upside down. Tonight, media kind of freaking out over these tariffs. But I'm telling you, Donald Trump has it coming. He's got a lesson coming. He hasn't learned it yet.
Any hope of avoiding those punishing tariffs from Donald Trump were dashed this afternoon. Despite all the spending and the promises of securing the Canada-U.S. border, Donald Trump has apparently decided it was not enough. Declaring this afternoon the tariffs will come tonight at midnight, 25% on Canadian and Mexican goods, 10% on Canadian energy.
Tomorrow, tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs.
On the tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight? And should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take
no room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
Right.
Now,
yeah. So, what he's basically doing is he's trying to rip us off. Yeah, he's trying to rip off Canada and rip off Mexico. He's a rip-off artist. He thinks he's going to strong-arm us into giving up our industries so that we build our car plants in the United States. They're not our car. They are our car plants collectively between the United States and Canada. They have been from the dawn of the auto industry. And he wants to rip us off and steal them by imposing tariffs. It's Ford. It's General Motors. It's Stellantis, Chrysler. They're not like Canadian companies. These are multinational, global corporations now that got their start Although it seems like his head in some ways, especially when it comes to business, is still stuck in like the early 1900s. He's delusional. He thinks this is going to have economic benefit for the United States. It won't. He may hurt us. It's going to be devastating for him because we're not alone. And this is going to come back to bite him in the butt. Oh, yeah. 25% here, 25% there, picking a fight with everybody. The American people are going to be the ones actually paying the price for all of this stuff. And yeah, you build those plants down there, we're not going to be buying nothing from them. You steal our car plants, which are integrated into your auto industry. You steal them. People here won't be making enough money to buy the cars. So you're going to cut that whole portion of the market out of the auto industry. You're not going to be selling anything here. That's going to hurt you. You're going to shrink your own market. It's really dumb. It's the stupidest, dumbest trade war ever. It doesn't have to happen. And the thing is, we need to be looking at this in an entirely different way. I'm sorry, but not sorry. I know people are like, don't do anything to get a Donald Trump upset. Just don't do anything. He might get upset. Yeah, it's time to piss him right off. Stand up and have some pride. A little self-respect, Canada. All you people who are like, don't do anything, he might get upset. Yeah, he doesn't care. He is kicking you in the teeth. He's punching you in the face. He's raping you. He wants to rape the Canadian economy and take your job. He doesn't care about you. Oh, you can just join us. We'll just take over your country. Screw that. You want to marry an abusive partner? Yeah, good idea. Please, sir, would you beat me some more? Who wants to be married to that? No, defend yourself. Have some self-respect. Do it in a responsible way. And that's what some people are doing. Other people want to bend over and take it. You're afraid of that guy? This is a sign of weakness. They're in trouble. He's got a huge debt. Elon Musk sits in those meetings, the first cabinet meeting, and talks about it. We have $37 trillion in debt, and if we keep on spending the money the way we're spending, we're going to go bankrupt. Yeah. So what's Trump's response? Well, we better start annexing countries and stealing their wealth. That's how they're going to pay off their debt. They don't want you. They want what you have, what we have. Get it? If he cared about you, if he wanted you, he'd be encouraging you to move there. And you're welcome to, if he'll take you. But he's closing down the borders. He doesn't want you to live there. Good luck getting a green card to work down there. He doesn't want you. Doesn't want you. He wants what you have. Get your head out of wherever it is, the rabbit hole, the sand, whatever it is. He wants what you have. He wants to take your stuff. He wants to rip you off. He's a rip-off artist. And Canada's been ripping us off with a $350 billion trade deficit every year. It's a lie. You just make stuff up to make it sound worse than it is. And it isn't bad at all. It's actually a mutually beneficial trading relationship. It always has been. And the actual trade deficit is around $40 billion a year. And that's largely because of energy. And we buy a ton of stuff back from the United States. We both benefit because they get energy that they then add value to when they refine the oil, turn it into petroleum, when the energy flows through those pipelines down into the U.S. where they get, they get fees for that stuff. They profit handsomely from it all. He's weak. He needs us. Oh no, you're making him upset. He doesn't care. Yeah, get him upset. What we need to be doing is doing what some of our leaders have been doing. They go down there, they're trying to get support from other politicians, leaders, governors in different states to bring them on side as partners in this attempt to defend ourselves. We're not the aggressor. Oh, yeah, well, Canada should stop, stop doing bad things to the United States. It's all our fault. What is wrong with you? If you're saying that, you are self-abusive. You have a mental frickin' problem. I mean, I'm serious. Your head is turned inside out. Your brain is on Trump. Stop beating yourself. Stop taking the razor blade. Stop slashing your own wrists. And have a little self-respect. And quit being a coward. Oh, he might do something bad. How much worse do you think it's going to get? He's imposing 25% tariffs on everything. Kick him in the teeth. Punch him back. Defend yourself. Because if we don't, he's going to roll in here and take everything you have. He's trying to do it right now. The weaker you are, the weaker we are, the more he's going to take. Because he's a bully. Push back. Don't have to get violent. Just got to get smart. Be smart. Make it hurt. Inflict pain. We might be smaller, but it doesn't mean we can't inflict some real pain. And target it. Doesn't have to be proportional. It just has to hurt. A lot. Some people are fighting back. Doug Ford's fighting back. And he's got a mandate now to do it. We didn't have to have an election right now. Why not? You want an election for the federal government. And people are phoning me. Why aren't you supporting the people who are calling for a federal election? It's coming. In due course. And it has to be free and fair. It has to be truly democratic. Not an election where people have some sort of an economic gun to their head, or an election where people's minds are turned to mush with propaganda coming from a foreign government. It has to be a free, fair election where people get real information to make their decision when they go to the polls, and so that they can vote freely and without coercion, without a threat. Because I'll tell you, there's no difference between having a soldier stand there with a gun to your head at the polling station and having a president stand there with an economic gun to your head where you think you're going to lose your job. Which way you're going to vote? And don't be surprised if they force some sort of a referendum on us, if not here, like across Canada, certainly in Alberta. I think it's coming. And when they do it, there will be a massive campaign aimed at all of us to screw with our minds, which is already underway, frankly, to confuse you, to demoralize you, to disarm you psychologically, to put you into a state of mind where you just want to give up and you don't think your country's worth defending, which is why some of you out there are slashing your wrists already and you're ducking and covering. You're afraid that you might get Donald Trump upset. Canada, stand up. Do it the Canadian way. But have some bloody self-respect. Show them what we're made of. Oh, yeah, he's got it coming. And not just from us. And that's why, we're not alone, ladies and gentlemen. We got the rest of the world with us. Pretty much the whole world against Donald Trump. Oh, he's got his Fox News MAGA people that, I used to watch and think, some of these people were okay. And now they've just been, I don't know, converted. They're like, they're bending over, bending the knee. All of them. They're afraid of him. Oh, I'm seeing it. It's, here's an executive order ending censorship. Of course, if you don't say what Trump wants you to say, you'll lose your broadcast license. If you're a journalist, you'll get ejected from the White House. If you write a book that he doesn't like, he'll ban it. Are you paying attention? Do you want to live in a society like that? Because he's not. He's not a conservative, and he's certainly not a Republican. He misrepresented himself. He's a Decepticon. Oh, he's a hardliner, for sure. How disappointing. But that's why I didn't formally endorse any candidates. I say good things when they do good things, and I say things that are critical when they do bad things. That's my job. And he's doing really, 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 really bad things. I'm a president. I want to be the president known for bringing peace, while he brings us closer to World War III than ever. Ever. But Rick, he is making friends with Putin. Yeah. That's why. Closer to World War III than ever. Because he's weak. Weak. Putin's grabbing him by the, excuse me, but he's grabbing him by the pussy. He's got him, and he's got him right where he wants him. Oh, man. But Rick, Donald Trump is our hero. Yeah, really? Oh. Well, okay. You keep riding that horse and see where it takes you. Straight into World War III and nuclear Armageddon. No, Rick, we have to listen to J.D. Vance because he says that it's peace through diplomacy. Yeah? Really? I don't think so. I think it's war through weakness. And not just the weakness of the United States. He's leaving allies in a very, very vulnerable position. Let's get back to the tariffs. Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, speaking at a news conference today, announcing some funding for a big mining project. I think it's like about a $500 million project. But of course, that aside, people are very interested in what Doug Ford is going to do on the tariff file. Because he's taken a pretty hard stance on this, along with all of the other premiers in Canada, except Daniel Smith, who, for whatever reason, and I have my views on it, everybody else is in alignment, and except for her, and Kevin O'Leary. And he says, oh yeah, we're going to fight back, and we're going to do things like... like people have never seen before. I gotta say, I got a little respect for the man. Here's Douglas Ford.
First question, so you won't be back before March 15.
Conservative.
What can you do for the tariff until there, and what do you intend to do about the tariff?
Well, these are a couple of things that I'm responsible for as a province. The federal government's leading the charge. The communication has been fabulous with the PM and the government as well. I said, number one, I don't start a tariff war, but we're going to win this tariff war. Right off the hop, I've directed the LCBO. We're the largest purchaser of alcohol in the world. to remove every bit of U.S. alcohol off the shelves. I know my good friend, the governor of Kentucky, he's losing his mind right now. I said, you better talk to your president. Mitch McConnell, senior senator from Kentucky, they're losing their mind. We purchased over $1 billion of alcohol, 3,600 products, 35 states. It's going to hit them. We call them the kitchen table issues. Then we're going to cancel Starlinks right away from Elon Musk.
Good idea.
Not that $100 million makes a difference for him, but it's principle.
That's right.
I've directed the procurement of over $30 billion of goods not to go to the U.S., to make sure we buy Ontario first. And if we can't find it in Ontario and we can't build it in Ontario, we go across the country. We have 51 tariff-free agreements with countries around the world. We're going to diversify our trade.
Good.
I've been asking kindly for all the retailers, and by the way, this is a massive impact, folks. Over all of Canada, we purchase $800 billion with a B, $800 billion worth of goods from retailers. A lot comes in from the U.S. I love the software. People are just stepping up. I love going down the aisle of the shopping store or grocery store, and people are picking up to look at the back of the label. They've come up with software to scan it. A lot of people can't scan it. I'm asking politely until I implement it. Every retail store, when you go look at the shelf talker, it has the price. We need to see a Canadian flag on that price. A lot of people can't pick it up and scan it. So please work with us, or we're going to legislate it and start onshoring goods from you're bringing around the world. There's nothing we can't build here in Ontario. Absolutely nothing. So I'm asking for their cooperation to do that. And that's billions. We buy over $300 billion right here in Ontario. So we're going to focus on that. I've never seen patriotism like this in my entire life, running wild across the country. And we're just going to keep ramping it up over and over again. So our 30 billions, it doesn't include the municipalities. And I know all 444 municipalities are on board, but we're going to make sure we legislate it that you're buying Ontario first, Canada second. And I get it. There's some products you aren't able to get. I get it. But I'll tell you one thing, we start shifting it, they're going to feel the pain. And they want to go after our families, take food off our tables, try to close down our companies. I'll tell you, we're going to fight like I've never fought before to protect Canada, to protect the people of Ontario and their businesses and their communities and their jobs.
The 4 new small modular reactor plant for the Darlington nuclear generating station will rely on enriched uranium coming from the U.S. Why invest in a project that will increase Ontario reliance on the U.S.?
Okay, so before I pass it over to Minister Lecce, Minister of Energy, I'll tell you this. Uranium for the U.S. comes from Saskatchewan. I've had deep conversations with my good friend, closest ally, Scott Moe, the Premier of Saskatchewan. That uranium goes over to Port Hope, Ontario to get processed. From Port Hope, it goes down to get enriched down to the U.S. I will not and cannot speak for Scott Moe. He's a patriot. He loves Canada. But if we got to stockpile our high-grade nickel here in Ontario and sell it to the world, so be it. And as for uranium, I'll leave that up to Scott to decide. The potash that fertilizes all their farming communities. As President Trump is going after our dairy farmers, we're sending them fertilizer. 87% of it is going to the U.S. And yeah, can they try to get potash everywhere else? They can, but they can't get it up the Mississippi River. So they're stuck with Canadian potash. Can they get uranium? Yeah, if they want to cozy up to Russia, which I see President Trump doing, you can try to get uranium there. But why would you do that? We want to ship more uranium, more potash, more nickel, more energy, and build an AMCAN fortress. I can't, for the life of me, figure out why this guy's attacking his closest neighbors, allies, and friend.
Hi, Premier. It's Lorenda Redekop with CBC.
Hi, Lorenda.
One thing that came with the election is that the Liberals now have official party status. Do you plan to change the definition of official party status and the number of seats?
No. They went from a minivan up to a larger van. They went from a 10-seat minivan, now they're into the 14 long-stretched minivan. So I'll leave it up to them. I mean, up to us, and we aren't changing the rules for them.
Gotcha. One of the things that also happened during the election is that you lost a seat in Etobicoke. I know you've referred to it as Ford Nation. What was that like for you?
Sure. You know something, folks? I'm competitive. I want to win all 124 seats. Some you lose by a little bit, some you win by a little bit. And, you know, as you saw up north, they're doing a recount. We lost by 4 votes. A whole bunch of them, and it goes back and forth. We won some by a few votes, they won some by a few votes, but the most important thing, I got to thank the people of Ontario. We had the largest mandate and popular vote in the history of this country that no one's ever been able to do. I thank the people.
Hey, good morning, Premier Colin DeMello from Global News. I know you said you're going to stick with the size of cabinet, but I'm wondering if there's going to be a major reorganization of cabinet, or the ministers who you had in the last session, you're going to continue on in the roles that they had.
Well, thank you so much, Colin. I'll tell you one thing. We're going to sit down, review
everything. He does have this new mandate, right? And that's good. Because
people here,
that provides
they're still in cabinet. When I call them ministers, they're still in cabinet. 4
years.
Are we going to switch a few things? Maybe. So let's see what happens.
As we deal with
I want the best players on the ice. The problem is,
and really
when you have 80 players that are all the best players, that's the toughest decision you have to make in being premier.
When it comes to that Starlink deal, so there's a lot of questions about, you know, when you're willing to pull the trigger or not. So just to clarify, if there are no tariffs, you're not going to cancel the Starlink deal, but only if there are tariffs you would. But what level of tariffs would you pull that trigger?
Well, first of all, thanks again, Colin, for that question. Folks, I don't want to start the tariff war. You know, we want to win the tariff war. But let's see what President Trump says. He changes his mind every single day. But let me be very clear. I talk to more Americans than pretty well anyone in Canada. I talk to governors, senators, congresspeople. Not one single American said it's a great idea to attack our closest friends and cherished allies.
It's just that guy.
Not one governor, not one senator, not one congressperson, Republican or Democrat, say it's a great idea to attack your largest customer.
That's right.
Who attacks your largest customer? And they're our largest customer.
He's going to lose his support even domestically.
Yes, will it hurt us? Definitely will hurt us.
Weak.
Will it hurt the Americans?
Let him do what he's doing.
Definitely hurt the Americans.
And when he punches, you punch him back.
A tariff on Canada is a tax on Americans. And I'm going to repeat that on NBC, CNN, Fox News, CNBC. I'm going to be hammering the airwaves to get that message to the Americans. They're going to get hurt. It's the wrong decision.
100%.
Premier Jeff Gray, Globe and Mail. I want to just make sure I'm taking you up on that slimming down. I'm trying to lose some weight. The media is slimming down.
I've been trying to do that for 7 years.
You know. We should work out together. Okay. I wanted to get to energy. One of the things you may do very quickly if there are tariffs is either put a tax on energy or actually cut off energy exports to the United States. Can you clarify where those plans are at? What kind of surtax are you talking about?
Well, we're going to have every option. We're going to use every tool in our toolbox. And I appreciate the question. But if they want to try to annihilate Ontario, I will do everything, including cut off their energy, with a smile on my face. So, and I'm encouraging every other province to do the same. Quebec, Manitoba, BC. We all have to act in unison. Out east, they rely on our energy. They need to feel the pain. They want to come at us hard. We're going to come back twice as hard.
That's right.
But I apologize. I said I'd call Stephen Lecce up about the last question in energy. You want to come up and say a few words, Stephen?
Sure. Okay. We'll pull out of that. And we are going to go to, well, since we're on the Doug Ford file here, we will go to we've got him, I think, on, where was he appearing today? Yeah, right here, I believe, on NBC. So he did go start making the, the tour on American media to get that message out. So Ford really kind of taken the lead on some of this stuff today on the eve of the tariff war. And make no mistake, Donald Trump has declared war on Canada. This is not to be taken lightly. This is how he fights wars, is with economic force. That's what he's doing. If you view it any other way, you are delusional.
I'm joined now by Doug Ford. He is the Premier of Ontario, Canada. Mr. Premier, we appreciate you making some time for us today. We know that President Trump delayed these tariffs a month ago, and now we're hearing today that this will happen for Canada. Do you have any indication that he might delay them again? Anything that's giving you any hope at this point?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on, Aaron. For the sake of the American people and the Canadian people, he needs to pull back. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen here. You know, President Trump ran on a mandate to create more jobs, keep inflation and low and lower cost. It's going to work totally opposite. Plants will close down within a week. Assembly plants in Michigan, which is a red state. Manufacturing will stop. And the people of the U.S., which I absolutely love, the American people, they're going to be paying more. The market is going to go downhill faster than the American bobsled team. It's going to be an absolute disaster for both countries. We're your largest trading partner. I don't want to respond, but we will respond like they've never seen before. You need our uranium. You need our potash. You need our high-grade nickel. I will stockpile our high-grade nickel at 50% of your military and manufacturing needs. Your aluminum, the steel, the lumber. It will be an absolute disaster. And this is all due to one person, that's President Trump. I have talked to endless governors, Republican governors and Democrats, senators and Congress people. I love the U.S. I lived there for 20 years. They're all saying this is the craziest thing that someone could ever do. Well, sir, it's going to create massive problems.
Well, let me ask you, you said a couple of things here I want to ask you about. First of all, you said that you will respond. Help me understand what you expect the Canadian Prime Minister might do and what you yourself might do as the leader of a province there in Canada.
Well, we'll respond strongly, and we don't want to. On the critical minerals, I will stop shipments going into the U.S. for nickel. It will shut down manufacturing. Because 50% of the nickel you use is coming out of Ontario. I've ordered our bureaucrats to cut off tens of billions of dollars of contracts that we have with the U.S. We are the largest purchaser of alcohol in the world. We buy over 3,600 products from 35 states. I talked to the governor of Kentucky and Mitch McConnell. Don't touch our bourbon. I'm going after absolutely everything. And I don't want to. We keep the lights on to 1.5 million homes and manufacturing in New York, in Michigan, and in Minnesota. If he wants to destroy our economy and our families, I will shut down the electricity going down to the U.S. And I'm telling you, we will do it. It's unfortunate. I would rather ship you more electricity, ship you more critical minerals. I want to ship you more energy, more potash to keep your farmers going, and uranium that you use for your nuclear power. It comes through from Saskatchewan over to Ontario. And it's going to be a massive problem. I'm telling you, we love the Canadians love Americans. I love the U.S. Everyone does. And not one American friend. When I lived there for 20 years, I've talked to all of them. Hardcore Republicans are saying this is the biggest mistake President Trump has done, and we're dead against it. And I've yet to find one supports him.
And Alex Jones.
And so, if I'm hearing you correctly, you are ready, sir, to go to war, to go to a trade war with the United States with the Trump administration.
No, he's going to war with us.
It's the last thing we want to do. It's one person.
Yeah,
that's
don't let 'em
coming
flip
to
it over
attack
on you
us
like that. That's
economically.
psychological
Your
warfare.
closest friend, your treasured ally that will stand
not our
shoulder to
fault.
shoulder with you in every situation you've faced. And he's attacking the person, his number one
attacking
customer.
us.
There's no country in the world that buys more products off the U.S. than we do. We're the number one trading customer to 28 states. And a lot of them are red states. They're going to feel the pain like they've never felt before.
Yep, and
We're
make
going
it
to feel the
hurt, pal.
pain.
Make it hurt.
But I'll tell you, Canadians are resilient. We're strong. We're proud. And we're going to fight back like they've never seen before.
Good.
And I'm sorry to the American people.
Me too.
That your president has decided to do this.
Oh, yeah.
I apologize, but he's giving us no choice.
That is correct.
There's nothing wrong with our trading. He keeps saying, oh, they're taking money. No, that's not accurate.
Not
Matter
at
of
all.
fact, if you take out our oil, that you take 4.3 million barrels a day, and we keep things going, outside of that, take the energy to the side, you have a $55 billion surplus. Which is good. That's fine.
Yeah.
America has a $55 million process, and I mean, 55 billion more in trade, and God bless them. We want to expand the trade. We want to create an AmCan fortress, the two greatest countries in the world. We have what you need. We want to ship more what you need.
Yep.
And I'll be very frank. You're gonna see nothing like this ever in the history of the U.S.
Yes.
You have taken a very strong stance here today. Have you had conversations about your perspective, your action plan with the Prime Minister, with the folks in the Capitol there?
Numerous times. I've talked to the Prime Minister up to a couple days ago. I'm the chair of the Federation, meaning the chair of all the premiers. I've talked to him on a daily basis. We all feel the same way. We do not want to do this.
Exactly.
We love the American people.
Sure
we
do.
love the U.S.
Absolutely.
But when one person
Love the
attacks
US.
our country unprovoked, then we're going to respond, and we're going to respond like the U.S. has never seen before.
As
we do
we should.
$1.3 trillion of two-way trade.
Yep.
And we're like a big family between U.S. and Canada.
Yep.
So we're almost out of time here, but we know that President Trump posted on social media that drugs are pouring into the U.S. from both Canada and Mexico, despite no evidence really to back that up. If this is his pretense for imposing tariffs,
he's just lying again.
What should Canada do in response? How do you start to right the ship here in this relationship?
He's a liar.
Well, first of all, Secretary Lutnick came out and said, yes, we're moving forward. I agree. Let's tighten up the borders on both sides. We put 10,000 personnel along our borders.
We did.
And it works both ways. We're working with the DEA. We're working with U.S. Border Patrol, with our Canadian Border Patrol.
We gave him what he wanted on the border, and he didn't care.
Because
It didn't
we're
matter.
seeing, so far in the last couple of weeks, we busted 624 kilos of cocaine coming from the southern border, endless amounts of guns. Illegals are coming across. I agree with President Trump. Let's both tighten up the borders, and we're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, your borders are Holman. He seems to be satisfied because we're showing results. We're listening and we're agreeing
about the border.
with
It's
the
not about the
administration.
drugs at all.
We need to tighten up both sides of the border, and that's exactly
And
what
we've
we're
done
doing.
Okay, we will leave it there for now. Ontario Premier Doug Ford, sir, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Yeah, he says, God bless America, God bless Canada. That's how he signed off, which you didn't hear, but he said that. And I agree. God bless America, and God bless Canada, too. Nobody wants this except one guy and some of the people around him who have lost their minds. There's nothing wrong with defending yourself. This is like it's like you see somebody on the street, let's say, who's getting mugged and they're getting punched in the head and kicked and punched, and you walk up and say, better not fight back. You might get the guy more upset. Like, no, defend yourself. I'll tell you this. Somebody comes to my house, starts attacking, not threatening, but attacking my family, I'm going to kick him to the curb. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. My neighbor comes to my house and attacks my family, Ooh. Yeah. Be a good neighbor. Be a good neighbor. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And he's doing unto us. Yeah. Chrystia Freeland tonight. Liberal leadership hopeful, former finance minister for Canada. Here's what she has to say. Trump hates her. I'd like to have her in there just to piss him off. To irritate the heck out of Trump. Send her. Just send her down there. Yeah.
Okay, so great question. And we need a 3-part plan. Part 1 is fight the tariffs. Be strong now. Tariffs are not yet in place. And the Americans need to hear from us right now. They need to hear from me today that if they hit us, we will hit back, and that is going to have an impact. Something Canadians need to remember is, yeah, we depend on the United States,
He hates
but
her.
they depend
Send her.
on us too.
Send her.
They buy stuff from us. The stuff they buy from us, they really need. And when they impose tariffs on what they import from Canada, they are going to make prices at the grocery store higher in the U.S. They're going to make
Even
it
if
more
Polyev gets
expensive for
elected, you should send
Americans to
her.
fill up their tanks with gas. And they
That would
also
be
need
awesome.
to know that if they hit us, we will
Can't get rid
hit
of
back. As Prime Minister, I will impose a dollar-for-dollar retaliation, and it is going to be surgical and targeted.
Mr.
So
President,
it does the minimum harm to us
your trade
and
negotiation
creates the
is
maximum pain in
Who's
the
on the-
people
who's on
who
the
have
list,
the most influence
coming
with
from
Donald
Canada?
Trump. One of
Chrystia
the
Freeland.
things that will be included in my retaliation is 100% tariffs on
That would
Teslas.
be
So
priceless. I'd
fighting
love to be in
back
the room when that
against the tariffs, creating pressure in the United States. So people are calling up the White House and saying, this tariff war is dumb.
It is dumb.
It
It's
is
so stupid.
self-mutilating. That's
Coming
the first
from the
thing we need to
stupidest
do.
president in
The
history,
second
too.
thing we need to do, and
Just
Tony,
freaking
one of the guys who works here, raised this with me, is we need to seize the opportunity that this crisis offers us, and we need to work hard to make Canada stronger and more resilient. Now is the time to just cut barriers to interprovincial trade. Now is the time to diversify our export markets. Now is the time to get more big things built in Canada using our great Canadian steel. So that's job number 2. And then job number 3, and I'm grateful for the question because I want the people who work here at Stelco, the people of Hamilton to hear this very clearly. We will stand by you. Canada understands how fundamental steel is to our national economy. And if the tariffs do come, Canada will be here to support you. As Prime Minister, I will do that. I stepped up during COVID to support small businesses and workers, and we will do that again.
I want to see her get elected just so she can go down there and irritate him. Yeah, he did this, and he's going to get Trump's the one who's going to get the Liberals reelected in Canada because people are so pissed off.
So if you'll forgive me, I don't think that question is quite precise. I know Scott Bessent well. I knew him.
Okay, it's enough. That's enough. Who's with me? Send her no matter what. Just send her down there. Even if she doesn't get reelected, just send her anyway. I'd pay her. Like, just give her a stipend and put her on the plane. Go to the White House. Be awesome. Just to piss the guy off. He is the stupidest president in history. Dumbest, like just stone cold stupid. Yep. I have to tell you, the guy's a freaking idiot. It's just You can love him if you want to. Maybe that's why he's so lovable to some people, because he's such a freaking dumb, stupid idiot. Just stupid man. Yeah, and so compromised in so many ways to so many people. Oh my God. America, you are in a lot of trouble. And as a result, the whole world is too. I'm sorry to tell you, but this is a freaking dumpster fire. Filled with gasoline is what it is. He's literally setting the world on fire, this idiot. Just an idiot. Oh my God. God help us all. He is going to take us straight into World War III, this guy. And now, Rick, he's making friends with Putin. Oh. Oh. He's destabilizing the entire world. And it's going to end very, very badly. Really, really badly. We'll talk about it more on the other side.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back. It's okay. I'm sure I have a lot of haters out there, but don't worry, folks. You'll come around. You'll see things my way in time, and it probably won't take that long, because this is a train wreck in motion. Okay, this whole thing. Trump is just now. This is probably part of his plan, anyways, to crash the economy. Have you seen what happened with cryptocurrency even over the last 2 days? This guy is rigging the market, and he's destroying crypto while, and the whole concept of crypto, which is supposed to be a decentralized, form of currency to decouple from government control. And then Bitcoin, because of all the things that were said during the election, it was going up in price and down in price, and and down, and so it was, and then it went up because he was like talking about establishing a reserve of crypto, Bitcoin reserve, sort of like gold, and then the price went up. Anyway, it was tanking over a few days. It went from like 106,000 all the way down to like 83,000 US, right? In a very short period of time. So yesterday he came out and announced that, again, he said, we're going to move ahead with establishing a reserve, a federal reserve of cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solara. There were a few others, and that pushed the price back up from about 83,000 to, I think it hit around 94,000. But then today it's come back down again. But he's doing this stuff. He knows every time he says things like that, the price goes up or it goes down. And so when it goes up and down, and then you've got these rich guys, they're playing the market. And then you get the whales in there, and they're selling big blocks of money, because now you have these investment management firms like BlackRock trading in Bitcoin, and they have such huge amounts of it available to them that when they sell a lot, it tanks the price. Then they turn around and they buy it all up. They buy the dip, and then he'll come on and say, and then I'm going to buy a lot of Bitcoin with tax dollars for the reserve, and then it goes back up. And then they ride that back up and make a big buck, and then they convert it back into probably to USD. Anyway, just saying, He's rigging the system. This is the guy who's always complaining about everything being rigged and it's fake news and the elections are rigged and this is rigged and they're all picking on me. Everybody's picking on me. It's so mean. What a wuss. But now he's in the White House and he's rigging everything for his friends, turning the stock market and and the cryptocurrency markets into a casino-like roller coaster that he's got the control of the levers. Yeah, you think I'm making it up? No, I'm not. Not at all. That's a large part of what's going on over there. So if you want to make money with crypto, just keep that in mind and then watch what the whales do and don't take the advice from me. Just go watch what they do. Do the same thing. You probably make a lot of money if you have some leverage. I'm just saying. It's just ridiculous. Now, I have to address something for a good friend of mine because I said, so, do you remember that petition? Right? I've been meaning to get to this for the last few nights. The petition to ban Donald Trump from Canada. So, the other night I addressed it, and this show is not scripted. I just say stuff. I just talk off the top of my head. So largely it's not scripted. Very, very seldom. I refer to notes, but I don't script this. So when I was talking about this petition, which you can find online, here it is here. This is petition E-5345, which has been presented. It is on the government website for Parliament. And this is a petition to the government of Canada, whereas Donald J. Trump is a convicted and sentenced felon of the United States of America. And Donald J. Trump is an insurrectionist, it says here, having engaged in one of his own U.S. capital, as concluded in state court decisions, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you can go and read this for yourself. In fact, I'll put the thing in the chat again. So anyway, the point is, the other night when I was talking about this, I didn't even realize I'd done this, but I turned and I said, I was talking about you can go and sign the petition if you want to or something like that, which you can. It's your choice. Do whatever the heck you want. It's a free country, almost. So feel free to go and sign the petition if you want to. If you read it and you don't like what it says, don't do it. If you're so upset that this thing's being done and you don't want to read it, you don't have to read it either. You can do whatever you want. But I turned and I said the words, I will. I don't know. I think when I went, I didn't realize I said it. It sounded like I was going to sign the petition. I didn't have any intention that night of signing the petition. And, well, I think Donald Trump on many levels tonight deserves to be banned from Canada. Strategically, it's probably not a good idea because you want to keep the lines of communication open. That being said, I say still fight back and defend yourself in a peaceful way. I mean, use economic sanctions, just different smart measures. I'm not saying like fight physically. It's no need for that. But yeah, you got to defend yourself. And some people think that this petition is one way to fight back. So sign the petition if you want to. And if you sign it and they get a lot of signatures on it, the government still has to act on it. It would be a thing that the government would have to push forward and, whatever. It's up to you. But anyway, I just want to clarify that that's really my position on that petition. You do what you want. I've read it. I'm not inclined to sign it because I generally don't sign petitions. I think I've signed a couple of petitions like for saving cats or something. But other than that, I generally don't sign petitions. I don't, especially political things, because I try to stay sort of out of the mix and neutral on a lot of these things. So very rarely have I signed petitions. I can't even think of petition. I know I've signed a couple over the years in my life, but they were like local things for like I said, save the stray cats or just stuff like that. And I couldn't even tell you what it was that I signed years ago. But you can make your own decision on it. And I think what I was probably doing is like, I will do something. I will, go wash the car, or I will read it or whatever it is. But You know, oh, hey, how many people are trying to convince people to not watch me in the chat? Lots of trolls in there tonight, and people who hate me. I probably generated a lot of new ones tonight. That's okay. That's all right. You can hate me all you want. Attack, attack, attack. Attack, attack, attack. Go ahead. Do it. It's a free-for-all in the chat tonight. What's going on over here in Rumble? Do we have Rumble running tonight? Is it even running? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. I'm just looking in there. Oh, that's the other thing I need to address tonight, too. Okay, so something happened in the chat. Johnny, you got your stuff deleted or whatever out of the Rumble chat. Now, I'm going to take full responsibility for it because I don't know what happened. I will tell you this. This computer sometimes gets bogged down. I was having problems. It might have been related to that, but I don't know. And when people in the chat started talking about your comments being deleted, I was in there. I was trying to restore you or whatever, or find out what was going on the fly. I couldn't figure out how to bring you back. And I called Johnny last night and apologized. So yeah, I'm sorry that you got kicked out. I don't even know what you were talking about, John, in the chat last night, because I did look in there briefly, but I couldn't get the chat to work properly at times. And I was trying to click on stuff. Now, I was clicking all over the screen, over on Rumble, and over here in the studio. YouTube feeds into the studio, and Rumble doesn't. So something happened. And you ended up, I guess your comments got muted or whatever. So now there's only a few people who, and I have to stress this part. There are only a few people that have the ability, to delete people in the chat or mute people or whatever. And I don't think, okay, and I'm just going to say the name, Dragon is getting the blame for some of this from some people. And I'm just telling you straight up, he didn't do it. I can tell you that Dragon didn't have the ability to do it last night. So if you're blaming Dragon, don't do that. He did nothing to anybody. He's innocent, 100%. If you're going to blame somebody, you just blame me, okay? And Johnny and I have already had a talk, so I hope he forgives me, and it should be cool in there. He should be back in the chat tonight. I hope he is. Simple as that. And don't blame Dragon. He did not do it. He didn't do it. I know the people who could, and I don't think they did either, so it's got to come back to me, and I'll accept responsibility for it, but I apologize. I don't know what I was doing or what caused it to happen. So sorry about that. And actually, one of the people last night, I couldn't find, didn't even know where to go to undo it. And one of the people who has the ability to do that helped me and found you and restored you. So, not Dragon. Don't blame Dragon. He can't do it anyway. It couldn't have been him. Okay? So everybody calm down. Johnny's cool. And I'm sorry. And if you need to beat somebody up, just come and beat up me. I'm the guy responsible in the end anyway. So anybody that's been banned, I'm still ultimately responsible. So if you want to hate on somebody, I'm used to it. I take it. I can take it. And sometimes most of the time, all the time, if my moderators ban somebody, I'm going to stand by them because they got a tough job. And I'm going to support them because they've got a tough job. So if you got to whine to somebody, don't complain about them. Just complain about me. Let's go back to Trump here. The Trumpster. We got other stuff tonight too, but we'll go back to the Donald. The actor. The reality TV star. Here's the latest episode of the Donald J. Trump Show.
Russia, and that's not young people from the United States, but it's on a human basis. I want to see it stop.
He's going to criticize Zelensky, and he's going to try and beat up the little guy.
The money's one thing, but the death, and they're losing thousands of soldiers a week, and that's not including the people that get killed every time a town goes down or a missile goes into a town. And I want to see it stop. Yes.
Are you considering canceling military aid to Ukraine? And can we get a reaction
to what the Prime Minister said, that your administration is bringing U.S. worldview in alignment with Moscow's?
So this is a deal that should have never happened. This is a deal that would have never happened.
sick of
And it
hearing
didn't
this.
happen for 4 years.
If
It didn't
I had
happen.
been
It was
around
never
all the
even close
things
to
Biden
happening.
would
If I were
never
president,
happen.
would not have happened.
How do you know?
And October 7th would not have happened in Israel.
Look at the world
and
now.
inflation wouldn't have happened. And Afghanistan, disastrous. The way they withdrew, not the fact that they withdrew, but the way they withdrew would have never happened. And we would have had Bagram right now instead of China having it.
Actually, he
it was
laid the
1 hour
groundwork for
away
what
from where
happened in
China makes their
Afghanistan
nuclear
anyway, but he
weapons.
was
We would have
partially
kept Bagram with one of the biggest air bases in the world. All of these things happened, and it's a shame. But it is what it is, and now we're here. I want to see it end fast. I don't want to see this go on for years and years. Now, President Zelensky supposedly made a statement today in AP. I'm not a big fan of AP, so maybe it was an incorrect statement, but he said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time. And he better not be right about that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, tough guy.
Could this minimize the impact to the U.S. with chips should China decide to isolate Taiwan or China decide to take Taiwan?
Well, it's a very interesting point. It's a great question, actually, but this would certainly, I can't say minimize. That would be a catastrophic event, obviously, but it will at least give us a position where we have, in this very, very important business, we would have a very big part of it in the United States. So it would have a big impact if something should happen with Taiwan.
Are you looking at relieving Russian sanctions if there is a peace deal?
Of course he is.
Well, we're going to make deals with everybody to get this war, including
Except
Europe
Canada.
and European nations. And they've acted very well. You know, they're good people. I know most of them are friends of mine. The heads of state, the heads of the various countries, prime ministers from the different.
He's going to make a deal with everybody after he imposes the tariffs.
4 prime ministers and 5 presidents called me over the last 2 days.
Yeah, because you're being
and they want to work it out. They
menace.
want to get it worked out.
Yeah.
And I think they're also, you know, they're talking money, but the money is less important than the deaths. We're talking thousands of young people a week. And people would say, why do I care about Ukraine, young people? Why do I care about, and not all young, but they're pretty young. You know, Ukraine is running a little bit low. And they're getting older. They're recruiting older people.
Actually, it's the opposite.
It's a very,
He's
very
got
sad
that
thing
upside
that's
down.
happening over there. And we want to get it finished. We want to stop the death.
They've been using older people so that they can preserve the
On the
youth.
tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal
Which
before
shows how little
midnight?
he
And should
really
we
knows.
expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take
No
effect?
room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs,
Yeah,
you know,
he
they're all
doesn't
set.
care,
They
and it
go
doesn't
into
matter what
effect
we did on the
tomorrow.
border. It's coming tomorrow no matter what.
Mr. President, just to follow up on my colleague's question.
And just so you understand, vast amounts of fentanyl have poured into our country
Lie.
from Mexico,
Well,
and as you know, also from
Not so
China, where
much.
it goes to
Not so
Mexico
much.
and goes to Canada. And China also had an additional 10, so it's 10
The
plus
drug
10.
problem in Canada is
And
because of the
and
United
it comes
States.
in from Canada and it comes in from Mexico, and that's a very important thing to say. Yeah, please go ahead.
Have you decided if you're
He's a
going to
liar.
suspend military aid to Ukraine? Have you made that decision?
Well, I haven't even talked about that right now. I mean, right now, we'll see what happens. A lot of things are happening right now as we speak. I mean, literally as we speak. I could give you an answer and go back to my office, the beautiful Oval Office. I could go back into the Oval Office and find out that the answer is obsolete. It's like his business. It's obsolete. You come up with a new chip and it's obsolete about 2 minutes later, right? But that's what's good about his business. That's why he's the only one that's successful in it. But
Just to follow up on my colleague's question, from Russia saying that your foreign policy is largely in line with their vision, should that be concerning to Americans?
said what?
Should that be concerning to Americans?
Read the statement.
That Russia says that your administration's foreign policy is, quote, largely in line with their vision.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think it takes 2 to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. You're going to have the assent, and you're going to have the consent from the European nations, because I think that's important, and from us. I think everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal. And the deal can be made very fast. It should not be that hard a deal to make. It could be made very fast. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal. And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long because I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal. They've suffered more than anybody else. We talk about suffering. They've suffered. But if you think about it, under President Bush, they got Georgia, right? Russia got Georgia. Under President Obama, they got a nice big submarine base, a nice big chunk of land where they have their submarines. You know that, right? Crimea. Under President Trump, they got nothing. And under President Biden, they tried to get the whole thing. They tried to get the whole big Ukraine, the whole thing. If I didn't get in here, they would have gotten the whole thing. So I can only say, you can go back to Bush, you can go back to Obama, and go back to Biden. They took a lot. The only one they didn't get, you know what I gave them? I gave them anti-tank missiles. That's what I gave them. I gave them sanctions on Russia. I gave them javelins. You know the javelins? You know when they took out all those tanks? You know the tanks were heading to Kiev by the hundreds, and they were unstoppable. And I gave them javelins. So, you know, I really, Putin is the one that will tell you this has not been so good for them. The fact is that I just want fairness. I want fairness. But think of it. I gave Russia nothing except grief. I gave them nothing.
I wouldn't say
I gave them
that.
sanctions and javelins. That's what I gave them. Obama gave them sheets, and you heard that statement before. It's a very famous. Trump gave them javelins, and Obama gave them sheets, and then they say how close I am to Russia. And let me tell you, we have to make a deal because there are a lot of people being killed that shouldn't be killed. But remember, Trump gave them nothing, and the other presidents gave them a lot. They gave them everything.
On trade, you met with Argentine President Javier Milei at CPAC. He wants to sign a free trade agreement with the United States. Is that something that you would consider even with Argentina?
I'll consider anything. And Argentina, I think he's great, by the way. I think he's a great leader. He's doing a great job. He's doing a fantastic job. Brought it back from oblivion. Yeah, we'll look at things. We're looking at the UK with things. It doesn't have to be tariffs, but tariffs are easy. They're fast. They're efficient. And they bring fairness. For instance, when people kill their dollar, their equivalent of the dollar, whether it's the yuan or the yen in Japan or the yuan in China, when they drop them down, that puts us at a very unfair disadvantage. So all I have to do is say, Howard, we're going to have to raise the tariffs a little bit, because I've called President Xi, I've called the leaders of Japan to say you can't continue to reduce and break down your currency. You can't do it because it's unfair to us. It's very hard for us to make tractors, Caterpillar, here when Japan, China, and other places are killing their currency, meaning driving it down. So all of these things add up. And the way you solve it very easily is with tariffs, because when they do that, instead of having to make phone calls every day like I used to do with certain leaders, President Xi a little bit, a lot of phone calls, talking about the fact that they're lowering their yuan. They're lowering it down, and that makes it very, very hard for us. So this way I just say, look, let them do that, and we make up for it with the tariffs. But
will you be speaking with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum about
yeah, sure, I will. I have a lot of respect for her.
Mr. President, tariff takes effect. It'll be 20% on China now. How high are you willing to go against China?
Well, I can't say. It depends on what they do with their currency. It depends on what they do in terms of a retaliation with some kind of an economic retaliation, which I don't think they're going to retaliate too much. Hey, look, the United States has been taken advantage of for 40 years. The United States has been a laughingstock for years and years. That's why this gentleman is
laughing
in
at
Taiwan
you right
instead
now.
of building here. It would have been better if he built here. If we had a president that knew what they were doing, and we had a lot of them
He
very
doesn't know
bad
what he's
on
doing.
trade.
He's making stuff
Look,
up
I'm a
every
huge
day,
fan of
changing
Ronald
his
Reagan, but he
flipping
was
and
bad on
flopping
trade.
and
Very
different
bad on trade.
numbers.
He allowed a lot of people, a lot of businesses to be taken. So I say that with due respect, because he was so great on other things, but he was bad on trade. We are setting records right now, records like nobody has ever seen before. When you have companies like this coming in, and almost 40% of their company in one signature is going to be devoted to what he does, which is one of the most important businesses in the world. That's an unbelievable thing. When Apple now is going to start building all of their plants here, all because of what we've done in terms of, it's not because he likes me or they like me. They don't probably like me at all. I don't know. I think he likes me a little bit at least. But you know what? It's the incentive we created, or the negative incentive. I mean, it's going to be very costly for people to take advantage of this country. They can't come in and steal our money and steal our jobs and take our factories and take our businesses and expect not to be punished. And they're being punished by tariffs. It's a very powerful weapon that politicians haven't used because they were either dishonest, stupid, or paid off in some other form.
Right.
And now we're using them. Say it.
Have you spoken with President Xi about this?
I don't want to tell you that. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Donald. Just wait till you see what happens next. You just wait, man. It's going to hurt here, but it's going to hurt there too. Yeah. And did you see what he said about Zelensky? Because Zelensky, let's see if here it is here, I think. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, okay. Bring up this headline. This connects to that story. And I'm going to share some food for thought that I haven't heard anybody else come up with. But here's this headline. Trump slams Zelensky for saying the end of the Russia war is still very, very far away. That's because Zelensky wants to defend his country. And he doesn't want to give up. The Russians are still in there. And for all those of you who are like, Russia, Ukraine started the war. What did Trump just say? Even though he can't get it straight, he changes his mind on this every other day. He gave them Javelin missiles. Why did he give them Javelin missiles? Well, first, because the Democrats made him. And then, and it was all related to that stupid phone call that got him impeached. And then, because he asked Zelensky to do something illegal. But anyway, I digress. He gave them Javelin missiles. Well, why? Because what did Trump just say? He said because Russia went in there with hundreds of tanks to take Kyiv. They thought they would do it in 3 days because Russia invaded Ukraine, which Trump just acknowledged. So if you're still sitting there saying, Ukraine started the war, somebody last night in the chat said, I think over here, as I was trying to click on stuff, I don't know who it was, I saw a comment that said that, what was it? I saw it in passing. Russia did it because they were being invaded. It's just so stupid. No, it's not. That's not what happened at all. But you believe what you want to believe, man. All the people who keep sending me proof of stuff just keep sending me videos from Russian social media accounts. Look, it's proof. Look, it's proof again. It's this Russian guy and this pro-Russian guy, and here's another pro-Russian guy. That's not proof, okay? That's called bias and a narrative. Anyway, my point here that I was going to make, because I kind of got sidetracked, right? That dust up in the Oval Office the other day, that wasn't an accident. That was a setup, in my opinion. And I don't like to engage in conspiracy theories, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to share my true spiracy with you. But this one is pretty valid, okay? Let's run the intro for True Spiracies. I need to find the intro here. Which one is it? I'm going to run. This is a special edition of True Spiracies, ladies and gentlemen. Let me find the intro. So we do this upright, because this is you're going to want to, you are not going to want to miss this. This is going to be so truthful, it is going to hurt. Which one is it? I can never find it because we don't run it very much anymore. Is it that one? No. Not that one. That's Frankencar. And this is, where's my video? I'm sorry. Yeah, I gotta have the Truspiracies thing. No. It's all about Zelensky. It must be this one. Hang on. No. Oh, that's that movie with Ryan. I forgot about that. We should run that again. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe I thought I had Truspiracies here. All right, whatever. Maybe it's been deleted. What a disappointment. Okay, here's the thing. Well, that was anticlimactic. Trump, Vance, two of the most powerful men in the world in the Oval Office. Now, you think about this for a minute, okay? You've got Trump, star of The Apprentice, reality TV star. You have J.D. Vance. Oh, he's an actor too, kind of. They made a movie about him even before he was famous. Not that they were, grooming him or anything or creating the conditions for him to fill the role of vice president. But, there's a movie out there about his life, even before he became the VP. Not handpicked or anything. And then Zelensky, he's an actor, comedian too. But in this case, he's the victim, and they didn't really let him in on the script, I don't think. So they bring him to Washington, to the Oval Office. And this is a once upon a time story, okay? This is a theory. Man, I wish I could find that opener. Oh, whatever. This is what it's about. I clued in today, and I've got a headline to back this up because I went looking, and strangely, this headline was available today, and I'm gonna expand on this. Trump also said something in that news conference today. If there's somebody who doesn't want peace, they're not going to be around very long. Important. He's setting the stage. And here's the headline on NBC. Putin has tried to oust Zelensky for years. Now U.S. pressure might do the job. See, they want to get rid of Zelensky. And Putin wants him gone. And that's why he's been pushing to have an election, because they want a rigged election, rigged because they would flood the end zone. Okay, again, it would be a full court press of disinformation, misinformation, propaganda, information warfare, psychological operations to just get their own guy back into power in Ukraine, just like Yanukovych. Wouldn't be surprised if when Yanukovych is waiting in the wings to come back and get back into that role in Ukraine, because Putin he doesn't want neutrality. He wants to put a puppet into office there, or take the whole country and just take straight up control. Eventually, that's where he's going to want to go anyway, and he'll do it through a political process. But right now, here's where it's going. This is why I think they're doing what they're doing. Oh, hang on. I've got Truspiracies. Here it is. I found it. Stay tuned. That was the teaser. But when we come back with this special edition of Truspiracies, I'll let you in on the secret. spooky, scary, spooky. Are you ready to go down the rabbit hole? This is not a rabbit hole. This is very real, I think. Hang on just a second. Hang on. John, I'm live on the air, sir, and so are you. So what's up? John?
Yeah, Rick, I'm just going to say Mike Myers did SNL over the weekend.
Yeah.
Canada's not for sale.
Yeah.
And he held his arm up in the air.
Yeah.
The hockey thing.
The hockey thing? What hockey thing?
Yeah, the hockey arm in the air from our famous hockey players. You know, you hold your hand up in the air. Never heard the term before, actually.
Hold your hand up in the air in a hockey.
No, your arm up in the air. It's a hockey thing. It's a Gordie Howe thing, which means to the Americans, you're going to get punched in the face and knock your teeth out.
Oh.
It's all out war.
Oh, okay.
It's a Canadian hockey thing.
Okay.
And it's actually a good thing, Rick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good, I guess. I didn't see it, so
It was on SNL.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but it's all over the internet. Mike Myers, a famous Canadian guy.
Yeah.
And the hockey arm up in the air.
Yeah.
Team Canada.
Yeah.
And it's a signal from Gordie Howe from Saskatchewan, which is to the Americans is don't screw with Canadians.
Well, there you go. Don't screw with us Canuckistanians.
You're not only going to get a black eye, Rickster, you're going to get your teeth knocked out.
That's right.
So, to the orange orangutan in the White House, learn some manners, get some etiquette.
Yes.
And look, we're all for peace and love and whatever, but we're defending ourselves now, Rick. We're defending ourselves.
Yeah, and there's a little passion there from John Rimby from out in Alberta.
And we need Mexico with us, my friend. But
yeah,
hold your arm up in the air, and that's Team Hockey Canada, and it's the orange orangutan is going to get a triple black eyes and his teeth knocked out. So with no violence, though. Sorry.
Yeah, with no violence. That's right. We're metaphorically, economically speaking. Okay.
Let's not forget, Rick. He attacked us. We didn't attack him.
That is right. They're attacking us. We are just defending ourselves, and it's entirely appropriate and justified for us to do that. Thank you, John.
I'm sad, Rick. I'm really sad it's come to this. I really am very sad. And the world is sad, too. Mr. Trump has run around the world, and he's given everybody a hockey punch around the world. And the United States of America, they're on the edge of bankruptcy. And when Canada and Mexico squeezes them, the 2,800-pound Angus gorilla in the China shop, they'll become reasonableness. And you fight a bully with strength. You fight a bully with power.
With strength, that's right. You just don't show weakness, just show strength, and then they don't attack you. Simple as that.
And we are team Canada from Alberta. Absolutely. Right. I hope Quebec's on board in their Team Canada now, because we need to stand together stronger now than ever, because it's not acceptable what went on last week. So,
and this isn't a true conspiracy, but John, I was right in the middle of my true conspiracy.
I'm letting you go, but hold your arm up in the air, and it's called it's a hockey thing. It's Gordie Howe did.
I'll look it up. I played hockey. I was Canadian, but I'm not even sure what you're talking about. But I'll have to educate myself.
It's a hockey player thing. Gordie Howe held his arm up in the air to the hockey team, and then punched their face, knocked their teeth out, and it's Canada's fighting back. So it's a hockey thing.
All right. Well, we'll score. I'd rather score goals than punch them. So we'll see how that goes. But thank you, John. Love you, man.
Cheers. Okay. Cheers.
Bye.
Love you guys. Bye. Peace.
I don't want a hockey fight. I want to score goals. So, but that's okay. Back to what I was talking about. Zelensky. You want to know what this is about? Here's what I think it is about. Regime change. It's a setup. They bring the poor guy to the White House with no intention of actually doing a deal, which is a really crappy deal because Trump's been lying. This is all true, okay? It's not a conspiracy. It's just true, what I'm laying out here for you at this point. Trump's been lying about the amount of money and aid that the United States has approved and has sent to Ukraine. He's not even close, again, on the total amount. I've been doing research into it, looking at Department of Defense and State Department documents. I've been verifying information on the total amounts. And as you add the stuff up, it's somewhere between $140, $175 billion in total coming from the United States. The United States still the single biggest contributor to Ukraine, but when you add up everything from the European countries, that Europe has contributed more than the United States. The United States, only about 174 billion top end, and not all of it has been delivered yet. A lot of it has been spent domestically, and there's still some being that is earmarked that still has to be distributed over there. And a lot of it isn't even for arms. A lot of it is in humanitarian aid as well, some of which has been cut under Trump. And then he brings Zelensky in. These are verifiable numbers if you really look it up. So like everything else, he exaggerates the living daylights out of it, lies, then has Zelensky come over and says he wants he's offering the guy a $500 billion deal so that they can get so the United States doesn't get ripped off and they can get their money back. Does that sound like a good deal to you? Even if that was a straight up loan, if you took a loan out for $174 billion and then the guy's going, but you know what? We want $500 billion back. So what's your interest rate going to be? Oh, I don't know, like 500%, whatever. Okay, and maybe not such a great deal. But anyway, they bring the guy in, they sit him down, and then Trump doesn't just meet with Zelensky, he brings his attack dog with him, JD. And there's Zelensky, much shorter, much smaller, and these two guys gang up on him and browbeat him, and they don't really want to listen to anything that he has to say. Trump can't even get the dates straight. JD Vance sits there and says, "Have you said you're thankful? Have you heard the whole thing? What a dust-up it was." And Zelensky is sitting there, and I'm sorry, not sorry. He wasn't disrespectful at all. And that video that's going around saying that he called Vance an effing bitch, that's bull. That's a complete fabrication. They put a graphic on the screen. They make you think that that's what he said. No, he didn't. And maybe I'll challenge somebody on that maybe tomorrow night or whatever. I'll set something up to kind of illustrate my point on that. But you mark my words, you can believe what you want, but that was just more propaganda designed to discredit the guy. They're engaging in character assassination. And that was a stellar performance, I must say, by a couple of performance artists, especially Trump, who is so enraged, upset because of all of the money that Zelensky has been ripping off from the United States. Everybody's ripping off the United States. No, they weren't going to sign that deal. It's a crappy deal. The other aspect of this is that Zelensky doesn't really have the authority to just sit there and unilaterally, arbitrarily sign off on a deal. It would still have to go back to Ukraine anyway for parliamentary approval. It would have to go through a process and debate because they have laws in place, as I pointed out last night, to protect the sovereignty of Ukraine by protecting the land, which under their constitution belongs to the people. It states that right in their constitution. And so it prohibits direct ownership of a lot of land, in particular farmland, but there are also provisions in there to regulate heavily foreign ownership of subsoil resources, is the way that it's termed, subsoil resources. I showed you the documents last night. It's all verifiable, all proof. This isn't me like pulling some, arbitrary document from some other place that's not really related to their constitution. This was like directly from their laws that are in place right now, their legislation, an act that has been approved and been there since these provisions have been there since Ukraine was given its independence after the fall of the Soviet Union. And they were put in place because of all of the history that the country has experienced where the land has been exploited, stolen by various countries, going back and forth to invade other countries and just using Ukraine as a doormat. So, of course, Zelensky isn't, really excited about this deal because it's exploitive. This is Donald Trump saying, we'll protect you, but we want all these resources. Well, here's the thing. This is regime change. The fight was a premeditated, pre-choreographed performance. They were throwing him under the bus. They did it on purpose. And this is where my narrative or my story turns to opinion, okay? This is my view. They were engaging in character assassination in real time in front of the world media with all the cameras in there. And Trump said everybody needs to see this. That's why I've let it go on so long. And they flipped everything around. They made it all his fault. But Ukraine was invaded by Russia. He's just trying to defend his country. But Putin wants that guy gone. And Trump is afraid of Putin. He might even owe Putin. There's a lot of speculation about that, and everything we're seeing, this pivot, this realignment of the U.S. with Russia, that dust-up was the pivotal moment. That was a milestone moment in world history, because the United States just basically turned its back on Europe, not just Ukraine, Europe, and he's aligned with Russia. Why? He's afraid. Maybe owes him. He's the weakest president ever. And that's why he doesn't say anything negative about Putin. And he's like, you see how much hatred this Zelensky guy has for Putin? Look at all the hatred he has. No wonder we can't get a deal. He hates Putin. Can't do business with this guy. What a crock. Sickening. That's setting the stage to oust Zelensky. This is how the war will end. But it won't be good. Trump is working with Putin. There's no actual deal or proposal that anyone has actually seen with regard to moving toward peace with Russia. Some verbal stuff, but nobody's even really sure what Trump is trying to propose to Putin at this point. And Putin and other Russian officials at this point have also indicated that they're not really all that eager to get to the table because they hold all the cards. And a lot of these things that people think are going to be on the table are non-starters for Russia. And they continue to ramp up the rhetoric, the propaganda, because they're at war. But Trump is giving Putin what he wants. He sits there and says that Ukraine can't win. He shows exactly how weak Ukraine is, therefore how weak the United States is. And Putin, in the face of this minerals deal, comes back and offers Trump an alternative. He says, I'll work with you. I'll give you minerals. I'll even let American companies come in here and mine. So what do you need Ukraine for? Just give it to me and we'll work together. That's what's going on. And that Zelensky, he can't be trusted and he doesn't want peace. And today he says, he's going to keep on defending his country. Can't have that. He has to give up. And if he gives up, well, then maybe we'll protect him. And what's the protection? The deal. You give us 500% more back. $500 billion deal on minerals, and then the United States will just rob you of your future. We're going to take your sovereign wealth fund, because what's really going on is he sets up Zelensky, portrays him as somebody that is unwilling, doesn't want peace, can't work with the guy. He's a warmonger. Shouldn't have started the war. Excuse me? He didn't start the war. So the two big guys, and even physically, Zelensky is a little guy, so the two bigger guys ganging up and beating up the little guy at the White House in front of the cameras, putting on a show, trying to portray Zelensky as unreasonable and unthankful. He's so ungrateful. Doesn't even say thank you for all the $350 billion we've given him, which is a lie. An exaggeration. All part of the performance. Make it bigger than real life. Like pro wrestling. The world that Trump comes from. He's a tabloid president. Everything is bombastic, exaggerated, over the top. It's WWE wrestling theater, politics, on the world stage. So no accurate numbers. Everything's like 5 times bigger, and we're going to have this big performance and portray Zelensky as this unreasonable guy. So they've set him up. They set Zelensky up. And there's propaganda coming from the Russian side to support it, with the videos that allege that he said F and bitch in the meeting to J.D. Vance, which is not true. I watched the thing live, and I certainly didn't pick that up, and I've reviewed that, and I'm like, no freaking way. They're making you think that that's what he said. It's propaganda. They're screwing with your minds. And there's another one out there where he arrives in London, Zelensky, and they put a bleep sound, like they're bleeping out a bad word, because he turns, because the media is shouting at him. I watched the unedited version. They're saying that he said F Trump. That's a lie, also a complete fabrication, and it's all to just assassinate the character of Volodymyr Zelensky, because they're setting the stage for a coup. Not just the United States, ladies and gentlemen, the United States and Russia now, because Trump is in alignment with Putin. So Trump's made a deal. Putin wants an election. It's prohibited by the Ukrainian constitution to have an election during a war, because it's almost impossible to have a free and fair election, especially in today's environment, during a time of war. Because your enemy is, of course, going to just flood your country with propaganda, and in this case, psyops, and just straight up campaigns with foreign money, foreign influence, to convince people to vote one way or the other, and the war will just continue on that front. So now it's not just a free and fair election, it's the war weaving its way into the tapestry and the very fabric of your democratic system, undermining it, so that people are not really able to make a good decision, because they're going to be presented with a lot of shadowy, blurry, confusing, upside down kind of information. Misinformation, disinformation, call it whatever you want, but it's true. It's happening all over the place. Canada's under attack right now. The whole country is just being flooded with it because of this 51st state stuff. We'll get into that more on another night, but it's off the charts right now. And it's actually driving people crazy, and that's what would happen in an election in Ukraine if this were to happen. It's not free, it's not fair. That's why they don't do it. And it's not because Zelensky is a dictator, like Trump also called him. That's BS. He's a democratically elected president. And, oh, but Rick, he's an American stooge. Does he look like an American puppet to you right now? No. Hardly. The deep state, the CIA, they control everything anyway, even when Trump's in office. No, they don't, obviously, because he's getting kicked to the curb. Because Trump is in alignment with Putin. And he knows that the fastest way to end this war is to just capitulate, to just give Putin whatever he wants. And Putin wants Zelensky gone. It's going to end badly because they'll get rid of Zelensky one way or another. Either through an election, they're trying to discredit him, smear his image globally. Didn't work. But this is what he's trying to do, so that they set him up so that he's unacceptable, can't work with the guy, doesn't want peace, he's a warmonger, he's got to go. Undermine his popularity at home, which is actually very strong. It's up around, I think, 60% approval rating. Trump says it's at 4% because the guy just lies. But he's setting the groundwork. So Zelensky goes, they have some sort of a new election, and they rig it, largely with a propaganda campaign, which is what they're doing in other countries anyway. And they scare the living daylights out of people by, one, during that process, having Russia still standing over them, and waiting to pounce again if they vote the wrong way and continue the war. And on the other side, Trump sitting there saying, oh yeah, you better vote for the peace candidate because this is the guy we want. If we don't get that, we're going to cut off all your aid because every time we provide aid, you guys just, you feel emboldened to actually stand up and defend yourselves. And we can't have that. You better, even though we promise to help you, I know we're not a reliable partner, but you guys just better give up and hand over your country. And then watch what happens as Putin moves in there and takes control of the country and proceeds with his full denazification plan. Might not be all that pretty. Scares the living crap out of me to think what's going to happen there. And it'll be the end of Ukraine. After all these years. I'm not just talking about this struggle. I'm talking about a struggle that's gone on for generations, where these people really do want their independence, to preserve their Ukrainian culture, their very existence as a people. But for Donald J. Trump, it's about money, power. And he thinks, I think, that he's doing the world a favor by overthrowing the government of Ukraine, to give Putin what he wants, to try to bring that war to an end, to capitulate, to bend the knee, because Trump doesn't hold any cards at all. He's weak. He holds cards in the sense that he's got some weapons and some money, and he thinks he's in the driver's seat over there, but he's not, because he's afraid of Putin. Might even owe him. So he's just going to give him what he wants. That's how he makes the greatest deal on earth to get the Nobel Peace Prize. Just give up. Who cares about the Ukrainian people? We don't need that country. It doesn't matter to Donald Trump. It should, because it actually is integral to the existence of Western society as we've known it, especially since and even before World War II, going all the way back to World War I and before that. He's changing the world because he's selfish. And he thinks that this will bring peace, I think, because then he neutralizes the threat of nuclear war with Russia. They get to carve up the world into, the bits and pieces that they're going to share. It's sort of like the non-aggression pact that Germany made with Russia heading into World War II. And then, of course, that was broken later, as history has shown. Have we learned nothing from history? Because as these two guys are busy stealing countries and trading them like trading cards, Kind of like Donald Trump non-fungible token trading cards, only these are countries. Okay, Vladimir, I'll give you Ukraine. Oh yeah, and all of Europe. And in exchange, I get to keep Canada, the Panama Canal, Greenland, Central America, Mexico. And I'll leave you alone, you leave me alone. Except it ain't going to go down like that. He's destabilizing the entire world by doing this. And you're seeing it already in real time. You've got Europe already taking steps to arm up where they wouldn't have before, not to this level. Because of Donald Trump asking them to, they were going to arm up for NATO anyway, but ultimately this is, potentially, probably, if it hasn't already, it's going to blow NATO apart. So NATO probably won't even survive with the United States as part of it. And that's really where this is going. And you can see it. So Russia, the United States, and maybe China together against Europe, and then Canada's stuck in the middle. You think that war in Ukraine doesn't mean something? That it doesn't mean anything to Canada? Oh, yes, it does. Because if the war stops in Ukraine right there, it ain't coming here. Get it? But if the war continues over there, if it's lost, and Putin gets what he wants, Trump gets Canada. Because this realignment, geopolitical realignment into a multipolar geopolitical reality will then be underway full steam ahead. What's happening over in Europe, though, is it's twofold. There's going to be a war because Putin does have designs on all of Europe. He wants to re-establish the old Soviet Union. He's got his eye on the Baltics in particular. It's going to take time. We know this to be true because they've actually talked about it, and I've talked about Mr. Dugin and his worldview, which he advises Vladimir Putin on these matters. And this is all unfolding right before our eyes. Get rid of Zelensky, install a puppet government that's pro-Russian, and then that will become the launching pad then for the next phase, the next country. They've already got Georgia. Now they've got Ukraine. They've been cut. They've got their eyes on the. They've got their eye on the Baltics. And with the United States decoupling from NATO, destroying it essentially, it has to be reconstituted. It will become a European security force, not NATO. It'll be NATO without the United States, and the United States will be with Russia, and then it will happen quickly because Putin won't wait for Europe to arm up so that they have enough to defend themselves. He won't want that. He'll say, you see, these guys are warmongers. Trump leaves them defenseless, and if they do anything to arm up so that they have a defense against any kind of aggression, they'll be accused of being warmongers. You obviously are the aggressor because you're building more arms. That'll be the narrative, and Russia will be the victim, and they'll use the buildup of arms so that Europe has sufficient defense in the absence of the United States in Europe. Russia will use that as justification for going in and attacking any countries that they want at that point, which is exactly the same kind of upside down argument that they used with Ukraine. And all because Donald Trump is weak. Donald Trump could stop that war too. Two guys could stop that war. It could happen in two ways. Zelensky's not the guy who can stop it. And well, he can just give up and then the whole country is lost, and Ukraine and its people will cease to exist. Make no mistake. It's a cultural genocide as much as a mass killing field. They're not just losing lives, they're losing their identity. Because Putin doesn't want the Ukrainian language or the Ukrainian culture to survive. And anybody that has been or has been supporting the war, and not the war, but anybody that has been advocating for self-defense will be labeled a Nazi. Nationalists. If you're fighting to protect your home and your family against the Russians, you'll be labeled a Nazi when you're really just a nationalist. And that's also part of Ukrainian history. I've got a special guest coming up, I think tomorrow or the next day, later this week anyway, to talk about that very thing from a personal and historical perspective, and it's going to open your eyes about that whole issue and the complexity of it. And this is what's going to put the world in a very, very dangerous place, much more dangerous even than where we're at right now. And it's because Europe will then be fighting for its very survival. They already have some nukes. Oh, they do. And they're moving them into position even as we speak to protect Ukraine because the United States is pulling back because of Donald Trump. And I say the United States, I shouldn't say that. Donald Trump is pulling back. He's pivoting over to Russia. And his MAGA loyalists that he has in his cabinet are there alongside him, and they've purged their political opponents back at home, all through the bureaucracy. I mean, it doesn't matter what level of government or what civil servant you are. If you don't agree with the Trump agenda, you're gonzo. It's a political witch hunt. Oh, wait a minute. Who was always saying that? Who was the victim of a witch hunt? Always accuse your enemy of what it is that you're doing. And why are they so in alignment? Because MAGA and Putin, ideologically, they're right in line. Here's the other reason you're likely to see some sort of a popped-off war over in Europe. It's because Musk, who has taken control of Twitter and X, and has Starlink, another communications tool to spread propaganda, misinformation, campaigns, and truth, however you want to look at it. He's the guy in a position to manipulate elections all over the world through the use of his social media platform. Steve Bannon even talked about it in that interview with GB News that we ran for you the other night. He says Musk is not a free speech absolutist, and there's no political party or government that can withstand the political force that Elon Musk can unleash now in Europe. If Musk backs a party, it's going to rise. So you'll see what you're going to see is country after country after country where there will be efforts to install governments that are ideologically in alignment with MAGA, Russia. That means conservative, orthodox cultural views, traditional kinds of views, not progressive. They are at war with liberalism, liberals all over the world, and that is the basis of the warfare which will be conducted, and they are at war with Europe. And even if Putin doesn't roll in there with tanks to take over those countries, they will have political parties in each of these countries ideologically in alignment with Russia and America. But the existing parties, the existing governments are not going to go off quietly into the night and surrender, capitulate, bend the knee. They are going to try to preserve democracy and freedom as we've known it, sort of, because they've got a lot of problems too with their progressive liberal ideas and ideology that has distorted what Western society is supposed to be about. But that being said, some of them are pivoting back more to the center, even as we speak. And I'm seeing that even here in Canada with the things that are being said because of the political environment here, or the Overton window, as they call it. But as these political forces square off in Europe, it's going to be disruptive, it's going to ignite turmoil, and if they can get these sympathetic governments in place in Europe, then they might not have to go full bore tilt and actually take them over. But over time, the objective is for Russia to absorb these countries so that it is Russia dominating the Eurasian landmass, and over here, Trump already working at a political warp speed to establish American dominance again and control over all the countries over here. And none of this is democratic because it doesn't respect the sovereignty of smaller nations. They're using an ideology that is formed, predicated on what they call political realism. And the reality of the situation is, if you live next to a superpower like the United States, which is Godzilla, whatever Godzilla wants, Godzilla gets, because everybody's afraid Godzilla's going to crush them. So why invade when you can just use tariffs? Why let the war go on when you can just smear Zelensky, oust him from power, rig an election, and install a puppet government that's pro-Russian again, so that the optics of some sort of democracy are there, but it's not really. It's an illusion. It'll all be rigged, but the war appears to come to an end for a while. Trump looks like a hero, but he helped Putin put his boy back in power in Ukraine. He doesn't care because he's in alignment with the guy anyway, and they're just trading countries. Oh yeah, and the United States gets to keep Israel and now Gaza. And Russia will stay out of there, and the Russian influence will be diminished in the Middle East. And then Trump can realize his dream, as so illustrated in that artificial intelligence video from the other night, Trump Gaza, so he can sit by the pool with Netanyahu, sipping his drink with a little umbrella in it, in the new resort at the Trump Gaza Hotel and Casino with a water slide. Oh, yeah, and those Palestinian people, who cares where they went? I care. And I care about my country. I care about Canada. I care about Ukraine. I care about all the little guys out there. I care about you. But I'm not afraid. Even in the face of these tariffs coming tomorrow, Donald Trump, bring it on, man. You're going to find out. You're going to find out what Canadians are made of. You're going to find out, sir, what the world is made of. It ain't going to be easy for you, my friend. It ain't going to be easy for you. Because I'm going to reach down like other Canadians and just find that fire, that desire for freedom. Yes, sir. And we're going to stand firm and hold the line. Love you guys. I will see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side. Cosmo, my best friend, with Maverick and the News Brothers. Take it away, sir. Here's Free Dog. See you guys tomorrow.
Well, I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry by freedom, running and here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmos got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free, he's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. Cosmos on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray. But Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his path. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmos Run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling low, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. In his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. A heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard a bird. Cosmos on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.